Okay, recording this video after close of trade Thursday, 5th of May 2011, and I don't know what to say, but whoa, what a day in the market. Real kind of change in tune, all kinds of monster moves kind of going on. There's a real kind of change in the mood with some very bad kind of news events kind of coming out. We had the jobless numbers in the US were very poor. We also had German manufacturing numbers came out that were really bad. Lloyds Bank in the UK, they had a £2.43 billion loss. Finally, someone's caught up to them. They've been sticking it to the customer for too long, and they're going to have to pay. So that's kind of all very interesting stuff. Looking at the charts, we had 2.5 million contracts traded. Now another exhaustion kind of down day. We're going to bounce from this back up, but you know, at some point, it certainly wasn't today. I was expecting some kind of strength, and you could see kind of midday a real change in tune. And I'll show you that on the intraday charts. Just looking at some other markets. First of all, dollar index. When I was talking about this yesterday, saying, you know, a couple of days ago we had this exhaustion selling signal. We also had yesterday the first kind of blue professional bar with the professionals down here at the low. We had bullish divergence kind of come out, and then today, bang, you know, dollar index kind of takes off. All I'm saying is there is a change in the wind. This may be the absolute low. Who knows? But what we're gonna have to test down here. We're never going to make just one kind of spike low. We're going to kind of come back and test into the 73s again. So, but we could certainly have a little bit of strength and run for the time being. So that was kind of interesting to pop up, and we got the inverse of that on the euro chart. And then on the bonds, same thing. The strength in bond continues, and I've been wittering on about this for a while after we had this kind of exhaustion selling back in February, and now kind of the bond contract continues on. But again, now we've got kind of exhaustion buying on the upside here on the 30 years. So just as, you know, kind of the bad news all kind of comes out, and all of a sudden the general public is aware that, you know, things are bad, and you know, silver's heading down, gold's heading down, crude oil's kind of heading down, blah blah blah. You know, this is when, you know, the professionals will make their move and start to get back in and buy the lows as the general public are kind of scared out. So just be aware that's kind of what I think at least is kind of going on. And here we go. Here's silver. So, you know, we almost made it up to 50. All the blue professional bars kind of into the highs with exhaustion buying, and then we've had this spectacular kind of move down, 30% kind of move down in silver. Still a day or two away from, you know, a cyclical low being printed, but now this is where the professionals start to get back into the market, kind of back interested at these levels. So that's kind of interesting, and we're going to get some kind of exhaustion selling signal on the downside here. But, you know, again, still a couple of days away from that kind of forming, and these things, you know, take time to work themselves out. Gold's kind of been interesting on the way down. I think the move down in gold now is about 7.5% kind of from these highs. We definitely saw, you know, coming into these highs kind of bearish divergence after a flush signal and so on, but slightly different pattern in gold. You know, kind of all the way down we've seen kind of some professional bars. I suppose the first couple of these you could count as professional kind of selling at the highs, kind of getting on board a move. But as we start to kind of expand the ranges down here, and again, yeah, we're coming up to cyclical, well, what was resistance turns into potential support kind of down here at, what is that, 1440s. Kind of down here, so that will be some area of resistance. But, you know, slightly different pattern is that you kind of would assume this is kind of professional accumulation kind of going on the whole time into this move. So, and at some point I think we'll form some kind of cyclical pullback in an uptrend signal and kind of test back up to the high. So I don't think it's all over Red Rover for these things, but it's just a, you know, this is kind of a shakeout kind of period where you kind of get the general public kind of really scared. Copper, I've been saying how copper's been weak for a couple of months now, and, you know, after we had our end of trend warning signal up here, we'd had all of our exhaustion buying going on here, a flush signal right at the highs up here, and then you know, this level at kind of 1420, I suppose, was kind of a critical one. We've dropped through cyclical support over the last day or so, so, you know, copper's kind of looking weak. Crude was the kind of the standout for today. Just unbelievable moving crude. Got an email from Jessica. Jessica said, you know, could you show us what your kind of indicators looked like on the crude market and kind of talk us through those. So crude daily chart here and the monthly chart. So first of all, the thing that kind of stands out, we had end of trend warning signal a couple of days ago, last week, on crude oil up here at the highs. You can see a rainbow pattern there, right at the highs, no demand, bearish divergence, and the market kind of falls off today. The move today was just spectacular, 10% kind of correction in crude. However, we haven't seen kind of blue professional bars coming into the highs in crude. The last time we saw kind of, this was buying the breakout here above 95, and the move kind of kept going. The last kind of retest down that we had into this pullback level, the professionals were kind of seemingly buying this little retrace here, and we didn't see professional activity. You'd have seen professional activity on the highs if they were really kind of exiting here. So my view on this is we're going to form some kind of a cyclical low, but just be aware. I think more than this is kind of panic kind of selling, I think this is more kind of an opportunity for the professionals to get in over the longer term, over the next kind of week or two, finding some kind of bottom and maybe kind of testing back up, just because you haven't seen the professionals kind of exiting on the way up. But it is a cyclical resistance level kind of going to be printed on the monthly chart here, and this is where we get kind of end of trend moves kind of coinciding with cyclical moves on higher time frames. So you look at daily to monthly kind of multiples, so daily to weekly or monthly would be kind of, this is a cycle in this trend in this time frame, and then equivalent to a trend move in this lower time frame. So potentially it's an area where we might kind of sell off for a while, but I see this slightly differently. I mean, obviously weakness with end of trend here, but the professionals kind of buying on these lows is kind of a signal. It's just showing that there's professional activity kind of more likely accumulating than distributing at this point. And then if we just go down to some of the lower time frame charts, so I mean, I don't look at these on the tip bar charts, but if you were to do that, you'd be looking at something like a 45,000 tip bar chart for kind of swing signals, and you can see the last move in crude was kind of a double top here. So we came into 1114, rainbow pattern right at the highs with exhaustion buying at this point here. We test back into the same level. Now you can see the blue professional bars kind of on the highs here on this kind of a time frame, more kind of day trading, swing trading type time frame, and the bearish divergence signals here on better momentum. And then as soon as the cyclical lows here at 108 are kind of broken, and we're into a downtrend here. So the move's not over. We've got to see pullbacks and end of trends on these kind of time frames before this move's kind of over. Back it down one more time frame, so 15,000 tip bar chart here. On this time frame you can see an end of trend over the last 2 weeks, kind of end of trend up here. We'd had our exhaustion buying up here. We were kind of just playing around these levels at 112, 114 up here. Had our exhaustion buying, had our flush signals up here, bearish divergence signals, end of trend, second cyclical turn after end of trend, bang. And as soon as on this level here, at 111 kind of broken, we kind of move into a downtrend. But we're starting to see exhaustion selling on the downside. No pullback and end of trend yet. And then on the 5,000 tip bar chart, you can just see the move here. So as soon as yesterday kind of broke 110, we're into a fairly sizable downtrend. Tried to form an end of trend halfway down, but professionals kind of stepping back in here. So although all of the news will be panicky type moves in crude, and particularly with kind of they're connecting the move of Glencore's IPO with the end of the commodity cycle kind of being over and so on. Just take that with a grain of salt. I mean, we're going to kind of test back up to these highs. I don't think the move in crude is necessarily over. Not according to these charts, because we've not seen kind of distribution type patterns, but certainly we're going to come back in and settle. I would have thought so. Just kind of interesting, but there's certainly a very different kind of change in mood right now with some kind of news releases over the last couple of 24 hours, really. Daily charts or kind of longer term tip frame types on the Emini 40,500 tip bar chart. Well, now finally we have exhaustion selling with the activity today, where we came into the 20s. So this is kind of the mirror image now of the exhaustion buying signal that we had. So we'll be trying to, I've been saying this the last couple of days, we're trying to find a bottom right here to kind of rally back up into the 60s. So when we look back down, let me look at the 13,500 tip bar chart. This was the kind of change in mood that you saw kind of midday today. The rally back up into 1345 up here was exhaustion buying at this point. Blue professional bars taking the opportunity to get short again, and then they kind of drove it down into the 20s here with exhaustion selling on the downside. So real kind of change in mood right there. And blue professional bars kind of almost on the highs, well, not the highs, but on this little kind of uptick up here. So it's difficult at the end of the day to know what the professionals are doing here, whether they're just kind of taking profits or actually kind of getting ready for another move. But just be aware we've kind of had these exhaustion selling signals now on the 13,500. This one that set us up for this fall, and now it's fairly significant fall into the 20s down here. And then on the 4,500 tip bar chart, you can see that move again. Look at this whole series of blue professional bars kind of leading into that 40s kind of level here. Exhaustion selling at this point. Little test back up, the second little move back up, kind of being led by the amateurs, and then we took off to the downside here. And then when you go down to the 15,500 tip bar chart, you can see all the exhaustion buying signals, blue professional bars into the highs here. That little test back up, bearish divergence right by the zero line. Kind of moves back up. Each of these kind of moves, the amateur moves back up, being sold. Then we have a pullback signal. Then it just kind of lets go down into the 20s. This end of trend didn't get caught at this point. We hadn't seen kind of exhaustion selling on the downside, but this one did get caught here. Exhaustion selling on the downside. Here, bullish divergence at this point. The market kind of takes off. I'll tag on my day trades for today. A couple of little trades. A nice little icebreaker trade to start with for 2 points in the morning, and then first thing, and then another 2 points kind of later on. And you might see I'm kind of working with some new code on my chart. So if you start seeing some odd kind of indicators kind of popping up, green kind of vertical dotted lines and some other bits and pieces, just because I'm working on some improvements to some of the code. So just ignore those on the charts for the time being. Anyway, spectacular day on the market today. Just be wary of kind of reading too much into the news right now, I'd suggest. Anyway, hope your trading is going well. Gun short 35.50. And it's an icebreaker trade, probably a quarter point late on the entry, but blue professional bar on 1500 tip bar chart just after the open, kind of the break of the high of the low. Got this going with a cyclical turn. It's a pullback and a downtrend here. It's kind of being led by the amateurs here, amateur down bars, Rambo pattern, so don't particularly like it. Might kind of come into resistance here on the 500 tip bar chart and then kind of bounce back up. So just be ready to kind of get out quickly. Bingo just out at 33.50 for 2. Icebreaker trade, so usually just look for a quick kind of 2 points on those. So as it keeps on going. Anyway, that's fine. Kind of blue professional bars kind of coming in here on the 1500 tip bar chart. We're going to find some kind of support here. We got cyclical turns kind of coming up both on the 500 and 15. And this was area of kind of support kind of pre-open. So yeah, so these little kind of bounce backs can be pretty violent. So anyway, looking for the next one. So that was a nice little icebreaker to start with. Just gone short at 38 even, and had quite a bounce from 33s kind of down here, which was wasn't quick enough to get on board it. I thought there'd be a nice kind of pullback along the way, but came with an end of trend warning signal, exhaustion selling, blue professional bars, bang, we just took off to the upside. Now we've, I mean, I do have a long bias kind of today, but we've come into a little bit of headwind here, a lot of Rambo patterns up here at 38, 39, whole series of them. It's funny we've not had any kind of amateur bars on the 1500 tip bar chart kind of up here. But anyways, we're just kind of playing around with this, kind of had a little bit of, you know, it's not exhaustion buying at the top here, but quite a lot of buying. You can see it on the 4500 tip bar chart. It's kind of raced away here. Can't figure out if we're going to have a pullback and end of trend on the 500 to coincide with cyclical turn on 45, but we're kind of overbought in terms of 1500 here, so just hoping we're going to head back down and find support on the 1500 tip bar chart. Just a couple of minutes later, this trade's starting to work out in my favour. We kind of rolled over, didn't make the end of trend, we just kind of pushed through the pullback in an uptrend support and kind of heading back down. So I got my target at 34, but just charts kind of stopped refreshing on TradeStation. Had to log out, log back in, reload. It's happened quite a few times kind of over the last few days. I don't know if anybody else is having a problem like that. Could be my new computer, I suppose, possibly, but anyway, just waiting to see what happens next. Still short 38 even. Minutes later we just retraced back up to 38. As we're trying to find this, we kind of bounced, well, not bounced, we had cyclical support kind of coming in, so stopping volume exhaustion, selling at this point, so we're kind of bouncing from that point, if you like. Kind of looking for this cyclical resistance on the 500 tip bar chart. Still holding short. The reason for that, here we go, blue professional bars up at the highs. This last move up being led by the amateurs, so we had an amateur up bar on the 1500 tip bar chart, amateur up bar on kind of pushing back up to 38, and now the professionals kind of come in. We hadn't seen kind of professionals right at the highs here. We'd seen all of these Rambo patterns up here, but now the professionals have come in a little bit on the 500 and we've got this turn coming up, so hopefully we won't have to take too much heat on this trade as we kind of roll over. A couple of minutes later I had to take 2 points of heat on this trade. 500 tip bar chart though coming into 1340, you can see all these blue professional bars and exhaustion buying at the highs. Problem with this trade though is there's no blue professional bars kind of coming on the 1500 tip bar chart, so we've broken through support here, and 36 was where we bounced last time. Still got my target at 34. So let's hold and see what happens next. Just came out at 36 even. And the reason for doing that is I should have taken the 36 last time we came into it, because that gave me my fourth for the day, and just hate sitting on something that when we bounced up to 34 is saying kind of woulda, shoulda, coulda. So now we got down here again, so I'm not going to be stupid, just get out at 36. Got a long kind of bias today anyway, so see if something kind of sets up. That's 4, but I wonder if this is kind of just a testing kind of down, and we'll start to rally above 40 again.